You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Happy Star Wars celebration, everyone. It is Andrew and Donovan back here once again here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. We sadly are not there in Japan this year, but we will be doing our coverage here throughout the weekend for Star Wars Celebration. I have not decided if I'm going to do daily recaps like I did for London, because at the time these panels are going on, it's going to be difficult to do that. So I'm still figuring out how I'm going to do everything, but we're definitely going to have this preview show, and then we're going to do a post-celebration recap episode like we always do. But we're going to have fun. Normally we just do some predictions here. To pull the curtain back, we are currently recording this after the Mando panel has happened. So I'm going to play coy about some of the things, but I'm going to stay true to what I had some of my predictions be before we started recording, and bite the bullet here. We are going to be doing a game of celebration bingo. So essentially what we're going to be doing, let me pull up the what we're going to be working with here. What we're going to be doing is we've got 25 slots in a free space here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go one by one, predict what we think might happen. We can have some serious ones. We can have some fun ones. Overall, just predict what we think could happen at Celebration. And then we're going to touch back afterwards and see how many of these we got correct. See if we got a bingo. Now, you might be wondering, what is that in the middle there for the free space? That is Ryan Gosling, ladies and gentlemen, because there were some, and admittedly Gosling was going to be one of my predictions, but we can just talk about this real quick, because we want to make things not too long today. I was hoping for some announcement on this movie. I was maybe thinking that he could be there. For that to be literally the very first thing that happened at Celebration, these are all the movies still in development. We did get confirmation of the Kinberg trilogy too, so that's pretty cool. But
yeah,
Sean Levy comes out
as well, which is like
exactly.
I'm glad that he's still around.
I thought that was dunzo.
Yeah.
But here's Gosling coming out talking about Star Wars memories he had as a kid, and I was literally almost weeping as I was waiting for you to get here so we could start recording. So we're gonna make that the free space because it was gonna be one of my picks. To start things off, though, I'm gonna just be very upfront, and I'm gonna say we're going to get an announcement of a new animated series during the Lucasfilm animation panel. I think that's kind of a safe bet. We're gonna have that later tonight. I believe it's I know it's 2:30 a.m. Eastern time here in the States. So I think that's got, what is that, 7:30 your time? That
is currently about to hit 3 a.m. for me over here in the UK. So it's a wild time with Japanese Star Wars celebration.
Yeah, so I will not be able to stay up for the live tweets for that one, because of course they're not streaming the goddamn panels again, even when we're halfway across the globe. Nope. Can't stream them. And if you're not in the room, you can't even watch it at the celebration stage. So I hate that. I hate that we're still doing this. But I know, I'm fairly certain we're going to get something from Tales of the Underworld at that panel. And
for sure,
they have mentioned repeatedly that we're going to get some talk of the future of Star Wars animation. So I think safe bet is we're going to get an announcement, maybe a trailer, but definitely a title of what the next show is going to be.
It sounds like I would be very surprised if we don't get an announcement of some kind of soft continuation of where the Bad Batch left off, because it was as final a conclusion as you could get for those characters. But I also, at the same time, you could see the seeds being planted for other stuff with Echo and Emery Carr joining being part of Rex's clone resistance, and that story arc not really being resolved by the end. We didn't even get an appearance from Rex in the finale.
No.
So it's a strong bet that we're probably going to see some of that. There's also the elephant in the room of Ventress being there. She obviously is going to be part of the Tales of the Underworld anthology, but clearly she is destined for bigger things. So whether that's live action or animation, I would be very surprised if she's not a feature in here. There's been rumors, I think, about potentially combining like a story about the path, the hidden path from the Obi-Wan show and Jedi Survivor with the Clone Resistance show. I think my brother suggested a title, The Path of Resistance, which that's kind of cool. I like that. Works. Yeah, I could see that working.
That her appearance in Bad Batch and then Tales of the Underworld is going to be kind of like a soft pilot for whatever this next show is going to be. So I think that's a safe bet. We're going to get that. Start things off. Give us a prediction.
Well, I'm just going to, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to just like go all out there. Natalie Portman shows up at Star Wars Celebration. And I'm going here because there's been rumors. So obviously I'll do another one related to Ahsoka. Those are my main like ideas, but there's been rumors about Natalie
already
Portman
on the live stage. So
coming back to there's been rumors about her coming back to do more stuff with Star Wars, like through Ahsoka season 2, and I could see them wanting to maybe bring her on stage and have a moment maybe where they have all 3 prequel like leads back, because that would be I can see them wanting to keep it secret, maybe for like if she is in the show and Ewan is also in the show again as Obi-Wan. I could see them wanting to keep that secret that they're all back together. But on the other hand, think of the press that you would get for a full year, like, oh, Ahsoka season 2 is basically the Force Awakens prequel edition. We've got all 3 prequel actors back together, and especially, and I don't want to like get anyone's hopes up with the kind of rumors I've heard, but I have heard one rumor about Natalie Portman that is interesting, and I don't know where it originates, but my brother and I have talked a lot about this, and because there's another like in fact no, actually I will save it for my next prediction, which I'll do in a little bit. But yeah, Natalie Portman showing up at Celebration would be really cool, and I would love to see it again. Like
we don't have a straight up Revenge of the Sith reunion panel, so we could have that spiritually. I don't know if I'm stealing one of your picks here, but you kind of alluded to it. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off right now. I think they're going to confirm that Ewan is in Ahsoka season 2.
Yes! I really am hoping that's true. I'm so eager to see Ewan McGregor show up. And maybe they could like drop some concept art of just Obi-Wan in his clone armor, and then that would be it. I'd be like, best celebration ever. Ewan in the Clone Wars armor. That's awesome. That's so I'm going to really keep
that one short, sweet, to the point. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I can get some of my crazy ones out there. I think it could happen, because we were talking beforehand of, you know, are we going to get more surprises than usual, less surprises than usual, because it's only 3 days, it's a smaller venue, it's in Japan, so there's going to be some accessibility issues with the panels. But so far, I mean, we're an hour in and we've already gotten some pretty huge news. So everything I think is on its head at this point. I think anything could happen here. So I'm just throwing that out there. Your next pick.
Again, this is related to Ahsoka. Again, this is something I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I think they will confirm Abeloth is going to be in Ahsoka season 2. So for those of our listeners who don't know about Abeloth, this is a character I don't know a huge ton about. Yeah, no, you've got the name right there. Okay. Exactly. Abeloth. So Abeloth is a character from Star Wars Legends, specifically the Fate of the Jedi series. I actually have 4 of those books currently in hardback. But she was a character who is linked to the Mortis gods. She's essentially the mother, I believe. So she's the mother of like the son and the daughter that we see in the Clone Wars. But because she was human, whereas the other 3 were like cosmic beings, like part of the cosmic force. She, I think, accessed some forbidden like force powers that essentially turned her into like the Star Wars equivalent of like a Lovecraftian horror monster. There's all kinds of like fan art out there about the character. The Fate of the Jedi series was pretty much the final big Legends story before the Disney buyout and the subsequent like reboot and rebranding to Legends. So it was really, so it got to actually make use of a lot of the Clone Wars stuff, and it featured Luke, Leia, Han, etc. But yeah, I could see Abeloth working for this kind of story. Ahsoka as a series has been pulling a lot from Legends. You've had Thrawn. There's the obvious allusions to Heir to the Empire. There's the Death Troopers from the novel Death Troopers, the zombie stormtroopers, that kind of thing. And we already know that whatever happens in Ahsoka season 2, whatever Balin is seeking on Peridia has to do with the Mortis gods. There was that massive statue of the son and of the father. So I would not be shocked if Abeloth turns out to be the main threat. And here's the big rumor that I wanted to kind of share. I don't know if it's true. I don't know how accurate this is. This could be a load of bunkum. But there's rumors that Natalie Portman might be playing Abeloth. I don't know where it originated from. But this is a wild theory. But basically, Abeloth, because they're a cosmic entity, they have latched onto Padme's spirit in the cosmic force, because Padme is not at rest. Her spirit is not at rest because of what happened to her and what happened to Anakin specifically. And I could see and that alone is like really cool. That's basically the Star Wars equivalent of like Robert Downey Jr. coming out on stage and being like, surprise, I'm Doctor Doom. And I actually kind of would like this more than
I kind of like that. I think it could be one of two things. Like, I think it could be really cool, and I also think it could be a case of, have you ever heard those old rumors of like what Mark Webb's Amazing Spider-Man 3 could have been, where like Gwen Stacy was going to come back like with the Carnage symbiote? Like, I'm kind of worried that it could veer into that territory.
That is at least from the Ultimate Comics, so I would have kind of understood that. But like, I could see this working. Like, it does sound like the most kind of like, you know, fan wanky premise of like, oh, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and Anakin team up in the Cosmic Force, and they have to like purge Abeloth from Padme, her spirit, so that she can be at rest. And I could see Dave Filoni being attracted to that storyline because he gets to utilize and, you know, make peace with the prequel storyline. You know, you could potentially get to see Hayden and Natalie reunited, Anakin and Padme like resolved together in the afterlife. That would cry. How much would we all weep as Star Wars prequel kids seeing Padme and Anakin reunited in the Cosmic Force? Like, that would be pretty awesome. And I could see. And it would be a fun way to include all three of them beyond just including them in flashbacks, because that's the obvious thing, flashbacks. But this would be kind of cool. Abeloth, it's a big reach. I think if Abeloth, there's also an equal chance that Abeloth will be in this, but played by like a big name actress, because that's also been the rumor. But it would be wild, and I'm kind of here for that. So that's
I know prediction. Dave alluded to in the first panel that they're going to start shooting after Celebration. So I don't remember if we're getting an Ahsoka panel, but I think we're going to get some news regardless. This is going to be a little vague, but my next pick is during the Andor panel. I think we're going to get some kind of confirmation of a returning legacy character, whether that's Bail Organa or whether that's like Draven or someone like that, someone related to the rebellion. I think we're going to get showing up. I'm not here to like predict who it's going to be. I know Tony Gilroy said in an interview a couple of days ago that one of the legacy characters either had to, I think he said they either had to recast people or just didn't include them because they weren't available. I really hope that's not them saying Jimmy Smits isn't going to be Bail if he shows up, but I think we're going to get some returning legacy characters in Andor, and I think one of them, whatever they show during the panel, I think is going to get confirmed, and it's going to have people like us be like, oh my God, Antok Merrick is going to be in Andor season 2. But
Linz will be thrilled.
Linz will be thrilled. Absolutely. Anytime a U-Wing shows up or Merrick, you know, we'll be in good company. But that is my vague, but I think it's going to happen prediction there. That's one I feel fairly confident in. If you put a gun to my head and say, who is it going to be? I won't be able to tell you, but I think we're going to get one like, oh, it's that person. Kind of like how Yularen was in season 1. I think it's going to be something like that, but they'll show it and they might get a Like they might not even have the actor there at Celebration, but like it'll be like a crowd reaction to like pop the crowd during whatever video they show during the trailer. That would be my guess. Take things over. What do you got for us next?
So this is another rumor I'm going to kind of like take here, and there's been rumors that we will get a season 2 announcement of an unknown Star Wars show, of like a pre-existing Star Wars show, like season 2 question mark. I suppose, because there's a bunch of shows that are sort of hanging in the air currently. Of like, are they going to get a season 2? Like, there's Book of Boba Fett. There is Obi-Wan Kenobi, that there's because Ewan McGregor has been like enthusiastic about doing more of that. There's obviously Skeleton Crew, which wrapped like a few months ago, and there's like a load of possibilities regarding those characters, and the kids obviously are really excited to be part of Star Wars, and I could see Lucasfilm wanting to do more with them. So I mean, my bet obviously would be Skeleton Crew gets another season, but like, I think out of those 3, Skeleton Crew is the most likely, but we could get Book of Boba Fett stuff.
You know what? I think it's happening. I think they've been coy about it. I think we're getting an announcement. I don't think we're going to get a release date, but I think we've pointed out that after Ahsoka season 2, we really don't know what we're getting live action show wise. So they're going to have to fill that with something. Andor is coming to an end. We've gotten hints from Tony Gilroy about something. Maybe I'll bring that up later. But I feel, I said this about the Acolyte, but I feel pretty confident we're going to get Skeleton Crew season 2.
You know what? Screw it. This is going to be my next announcement. Acolyte season 2. I've got to put that on the board, because it's like, you know what? I know it's been cancelled. Every time you fucking tweet about it, there's always like a bunch of like trolls coming in and go, oh, nobody liked it, nobody watched it, oh, all that kind of stuff. But I'm still going to stick to my guns. The show has been consistently popular on Disney Plus. It's been consistently in the top 3 most watched shows for several months. There is, of course, the fact that we are getting multiple tie-in stuff this year, including like the 2 novels, the Venestra novel and the Jecki and Yord book, and there's also more
about during the publishing panel,
which absolutely, I mean, that's a dead cert, and also the visual dictionary and the art of the Acolyte book. So there's a lot of Acolyte love this year in terms of spin-off stuff, and I could see that
to get canceled.
Oh, I still can't believe it's gone. It's still annoying.
Can you imagine though, like, because we're talking about Skeleton Crew and how we're waiting for a season 2, and we think, could you imagine if we were still waiting for Acolyte news and it had been this long?
Oh God!
Like,
oh my God! Yeah, I mean, like we just casually go, oh yeah, no, we're not doing any more Acolyte. We're like, what?
Yeah, I don't know if they'd announce it here, but again, these are. Not all of these have to be true, but some of these can just be things that we really want. And, I'm here for it. I want more. I still think we're going to get some continuation of it at some point, whether that's a series or not. But I do think it's very possible that we get an Acolyte story announcement at Celebration, probably during the publishing panel. But if it's a season 2 or like a Disney Plus special, like how they're doing with the John Bernthal's Punisher,
that would be cool.
That would be sick.
I mean, the show has shown to have a consistent fan base. There are people who really enjoy the show, who actually started watching Star Wars stuff through that show. So it's kind of like Clone Wars. I kind of feel like it's got enough of a fan base. I think that it would go over really well, and it would obviously go over well at Celebration, because the people who actually go to Celebration love Star Wars and love seeing more Star Wars stuff, especially different kinds of stories, like the Acolyte was trying to do. So I'm still optimistic we'll see more from that side of the galaxy eventually.
When you're playing bingo and when you're filling out predictions, you got to have some layups. This is going to be my easy layup. Vision season 3 trailer. We know we're getting a panel, and I think we're definitely going to get a release date, but I think this is going to be they're going to show the trailer. This is going to be one of the ones that actually gets released to the public, and we might get maybe some confirmation that some of the stories from season 1 are going to be continuing, whether that's the Duel or the Ninth Jedi or whatever's been rumored, I think it's a safe bet we're going to get some kind of trailer. So I'm just going to throw that on there. I believe that is Saturday is the Visions panel. But again, I could be wrong. Probably should have looked at this before we started recording. But, we're all vibes here. I'm high off the news of Starfighter. So that is my next pick. If you have something next.
So you can see my name here. Everyone knows I'm the Huyang guy, so screw it. I'm gonna say Huyang novel gets announced at the publishing panel because, like, I was gonna say like another character get a novel, but I just kind of thought, Huyang as a character, it's like he's. I love that he's been promoted to main character status following Ahsoka. It's great to see David Tennant get to do more with that character. He's been kind of absent from like a lot of the promotion, sadly, but I'm hoping that because this series is going to be filming in the UK, he'll get to be more a part of that this time. But I'd love to see a novel about Huyang. It's exploring what happened to him after the events of Order 66, because it was such a wild thing, him showing up in Ahsoka. Because my first thought is, I probably, as much as I love this character, we'll probably never see him again, because my main assumption was that Palpatine would have him scrapped immediately because this is a droid that knows how to build Jedi lightsabers. So, then again, Palpatine might have kept him captive because he possesses actual knowledge that Palpatine could use. So there's a lot of interesting possibilities there of like, you get more, you get to see how Huyang escaped, what Huyang's life was like in between, like that whole time, because he's been around at least for like another 20 years or 30 years between the events of hang on a minute, I gotta go and get him. I've said to Yang and I've not got him with me. Hang on, he's the Black Series guy is right here. Here he is. Hello everybody.
There he is.
There's my dude. There's my goat.
You could definitely do that, and I love that story because the character is so old. What else would be really cool is if they did kind of like an anthology story where it takes place literally over hundreds of years. And
damn, I should have said Tales of Huyang.
Each part of the book is like a different part of his life. That would be so cool.
Bro could literally turn up in the like post Rise of Skywalker time. Like he could literally be the new kind of like through line for the franchise. He's so old. He's 20. He's the oldest character now in the Star Wars galaxy. He's been around since like the Dawn of the Jedi, which, he's got to be in Mangold's movie. If he's not in Mangold's movie, I'll be a little sad because it's a perfect way to like show him kind of beginning. And, you could see like a different side to Huyang of him being this very new droid. And also, if James Mangold was to like show him arriving in a blue box, I would be, as a Doctor Who fan, I would be very happy with that.
Yep. I'm debating here. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna take the L. But look,
probably end
because we didn't get it at the panel doesn't mean we might not get it. I think it's. I will be very disappointed, and I'm saying that lightly, and especially as someone that's not really looking forward to this movie, but I will be very disappointed if they have this panel. It's the first Celebration in 2 years. It's the very first thing from Celebration this year, and all we get publicly is a logo, and then Favreau says, this is the last Celebration before the movie comes out. And you give us a brief look at Swole Rhoda in the sizzle reel, and you get Sigourney Weaver playing a pilot. Now this could age horribly, and by the time I upload this, we have a trailer drop. Or this could age horribly, and it's not on here at all. But I just think I get it. The movie is a year out, but something like a 30-second thing, because it sounds like, from the description I read, a lot like the scene, was it D23 that they had the sizzle reel of like Mando driving the AT-ST?
Yeah.
It sounds like they showed that clip again. So it's just like, we got to get something. Like, this movie's a year out. Give us a confirmation of like a scene or a character. Because like, we know Jeremy Allen White is playing Rhoda. Like, I'm just shocked that he wasn't there. And I get it, scheduling is a thing. But something like I would like something. If this is what you lead it off with, and this is like how you're This is the first Star Wars movie in theaters it's going to be 7 years when this movie drops. Like, I think we need something this celebration besides a logo, especially when it got overshadowed by a different movie in its own panel.
I would just like to say I have now seen a picture of Swol Rota.
Oh, I'll add it in
is
post.
But again, this is another Legends thing here because there was a Swol kind of Sith Hutt who fought Leia one time, I believe. So like this is a crazy thing to see. Like we've had Swol Hutts, we had Gracchus the Hutt, obviously in Jason Aaron's Star Wars comics. So this is kind of cool. I'm digging this.
That we've kind of heard rumors for the last couple months that Rhoda was going to be ripped in this movie and have giant biceps. And that just kind of sounded like something like, oh, I mean, that can't be like actually what they're going to do. And I think they were right. So there's that for you. Don, your next pick as I take the L for this one.
So I'm gonna we haven't really had a lot of video game kind of talk on here, and we've obviously already got the announcement of like Respawn's new strategy game from the makers of XCOM. The title eludes me, but I would say we're probably going to get maybe some news on Jedi 3 perhaps, given because it's been like we're a couple of years out now from the previous game, and they're actively, I think, are they working on it? But I think we'll get some kind of news, maybe if it's just that they've started development on it, because we all know that there's a third story coming with Cal and Merrin and stuff, and obviously we need to see it kind of closed out. And because of the way the story ends, and I won't say how the story ends because I know you've yet to finish the story, but honestly, it's kind of an open book as to where you can take it. There are so many avenues that you could go with this. So I'm very hopeful we'll get some news on Jedi 3 rather. Like, what would you call it, incidentally? Because I'm trying to think.
We've got Fallen Order. We've got Survivor. I don't know.
I don't know, like Jedi Reborn, maybe?
Yeah, it's going to be pushing A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like, in the timeline, unless they do big time skip.
Yeah, and they just say that like jump all the way to like post Return of the Jedi, which I don't think they'll do.
I do like Jedi Reborn.
Yeah.
That's a nice title. Zero Company is the name of that game. And I'm gonna say we get a gameplay trailer. Well, I don't know about gameplay.
That's a good one, yeah.
But I think we're gonna get a trailer.
So
yeah, Clone Wars era. Huge for the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. I think I have said for years, as a huge Fire Emblem fan, that having a tactical RPG like this is my dream Star Wars game. And I know this is like real-time strategy, and you'd think that would mean that I've played games like Galactic Battlegrounds and Empire at War, and I haven't. They're on my laptop. I haven't played them. I know you love those games.
Galactic Battleground. Well, I've never played Empire at War. My brother played Empire at War, but my childhood was spent playing a bunch of Galactic Battlegrounds. It's what gave me an affinity for Kashyyyk, because there's a whole campaign where you go to Alaris Prime, and also like where you go and help Chewie liberate that world after the events of Return of the Jedi. So I'm kind of excited for this. I'm not really an XCOM guy. My brother is the XCOM fan, very much. Out the two of us, he's talked this up a lot about how excited he is for like the Star Wars strategy game from this development team. The fact that it's prequel set and we've got kind of like a Mandalorian, a clone, all these kind of different characters. That's cool.
Right.
Like that.
I've never played XCOM either, but the concept is right up my alley, and I can't wait for this. So this has definitely jumped to near the top of my anticipation list. What else you got for us as we are about to clear the third row of this?
So again, we're going to have like two novels in like the right section, I suppose, but I'm going to say Jod novel. Because
I love that.
I could see Jod like headlining a novel, really, because his story was vague enough.
Skeleton Crew is another one that I think we're going to get some kind of book announcement. So I'm not going to say Skeleton Crew book, but I think a Jod novel is perfect.
I think exactly. It's the perfect it's the perfect blank slate to kind of like fill in with a novel, like his time, maybe as a young man, kind of a Crimson Climb-esque situation where like he's becoming a pirate, like having to kind of like make the kind of decisions that will set him on that kind of like fractious road that we find him in during the events of Skeleton Crew. I could see it really working, and we might even get like more exploration of his Jedi Master that never was. That would be really kind of cool. I would dig that.
I'm gonna stay in the realm of books. Obviously, come the summer, we're gonna get the end of the High Republic. I would not be surprised if we get our first tease at what the next big publishing initiative is going to be.
Exactly that, yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be as huge or as long lasting as the High Republic was, but I think we've already gotten the Reign of the Empire series starting this year. I think we're going to get an announcement of what our next big thing that we're going to be building towards over the next couple of years is going to be. Give us a new time period, give us some new characters, and I think we're going to get, even if we don't get any book announcements, I think we're going to get something teasing what's coming next. I don't think it's going to be a direct continuation of the High Republic, but I do think with how successful this was and how it, likened back to the legend storytelling of old, I think they saw how well it worked, and I think they want to keep doing that again and keep having these publishing initiatives. So I think we're going to get a tease and a glimpse of what's coming next in the world of Star Wars publishing.
I completely agree with that. I think it makes a lot of sense because they've definitely, a lot of Star Wars publishing has been so focused on the High Republic for the last several years, and I've obviously, we are quite stacked for novels already. Technically, with this year, we've had the rest of High Republic Phase 3. We've got Reign of the Empire, as you said, starting with Mask of Fear. I love that title, Great Allusion to Nemec. But we've got that. We've got the 2 Acolyte books. We've got Master of Evil, which I'm interested. It's very surprised they announced that this year, but we're definitely
got the Bad Batch book.
The Bad Batch book, of course. More tech, yay!
So I don't think this is going to be 2025, but I think we're going to get something for. Yeah. Here's what we're going to be building towards next.
So I am also now going to lead in and say, because we, like you said, we haven't had any Revenge of the Sith kind of panel here. And we've got the re-release. So I'm going to say maybe another book announced, or maybe some other celebration of Revenge of the Sith. I don't know, another book specifically. Because we've got Master of Evil, but that is kind of post Revenge of the Sith. So I could see a book that maybe goes into Revenge of the Sith.
Kind of like how the Living Force worked, was released in the anniversary of the Phantom Menace, something like that. Are you thinking, or are you thinking directly here's something?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, your connection jumped for a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, No, it's cool. So that's exactly what I was thinking. Because I've finished Living Force. I love the Living Force. It's definitely going to be on my top 5 list of 2024 when we get to that. But I could see them doing a story like that. It'd be really kind of cool. I don't know if they will do it, but maybe they could do that. Maybe they could do a story about a more specific character from Revenge of the Sith. It would just be kind of interesting, like some kind of Revenge of the Sith story, because Master of Evil seems a little more kind of off in the distance, and I'm kind of unsure of how much this is gonna be tying into stuff that Charles Soule was exploring, given that it's about Anakin trying to bring Padme back from the netherworld of the Force, which is another reason I'm kind of still on board with the whole Padme as Abeloth rumor that has been floating around for Ahsoka season 2. Yeah.
You're starting to sell me on that. So obviously, Celebration is a time of announcements and reveals and panels and just celebrating Star Wars. I also want to take into account things that are going to happen at Celebration. And Revenge of the Sith obviously is celebrating its 20th anniversary. This time next week, I will have seen it in theaters, and that is amazing to me.
That's so awesome. That's going to be such a great experience for you, dude.
However, it is not the only movie celebrating an anniversary this year, because this year is also the 10th anniversary of The Force Awakens.
Yes.
We know that Oscar Isaac was supposed to be there. He had to pull out because he's going to be in Doomsday.
He's going to be Moon Knight. He's going to Just quick aside, he's gonna. I really want him to be in Doomsday because of the way Moon Knight season 1 left off, so he can show up and be a complete psycho and give all the other Avengers like
Yeah.
the wrong impression of who he is. Like they're all expecting someone kind of calm, and then he just comes in and he's like this absolute madman.
Also, quick aside, if this is Star Wars Starfighter, Poe's got to be in it, right? Like he's got to be in this movie.
Yeah.
But I think.
No,
I think-
no. See, I've got to save that for my next thing.
However, I think someone is showing up, and I think we're gonna get a Daisy Ridley appearance.
I think we're going to get a Daisy Ridley, some kind of Daisy Ridley appearance, because they've already confirmed that Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy is still on board for that, which I'm so happy. I love that they've gone so different for this kind of director of like the new Jedi Order film. So I love that she's still attached. I would love to see more of Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
More Daisy Ridley at Celebration is always
whether it's
joy.
just her showing up on the Celebration stage or showing up in a panel or here's something about the Rey movie. I think she's going to show up. I think it would just be nice to see Daisy again. It was the highlight of last time. The last Celebration for me was her showing up and announcing that Rey is coming back. Meant so much to me, and I would love to see Daisy on stage again. And I think it's going to happen, and you got to have something for TFA this year. So even while we're caught up in loving the Revenge of the Sith anniversary right now, gotta show some Force Awakens love. Cannot believe that movie's going to be 10 years old this year. So I think we're going to get Daisy showing up in some way.
Yeah, so it's funny you said Daisy Ridley appearance, because I'm going to also go for broke here with sequel trilogy related stuff. I'm going to say John Boyega.
Oh my God.
Dude's been floating it a little bit. He's been kind of like, I've always thought that John would want to come back and do a little bit more and start the Star Wars material we have gotten. Like the Lego specials have been very kind of like leaning into the idea that Rey is going to train Finn in the ways of the Jedi. So I could see him maybe showing up, and given that John was like kind of annoyed at not getting to like be more front and center of like the kind of Jedi action, the sequel trilogy, I could see them just having him turn up with like a sick robe and some lightsabers. That would be really kind of cool. I could see that happening.
I hope you're right. I think we're still a year or two or a couple of years away from that being a reality, but I really hope you're right.
Yeah, maybe they could save it for 2027. Who knows? But like, that's a go for broke thing.
God, I hope John's there. That would be so amazing. I'm gonna stick with things that we're gonna get at the convention, and I think there's gonna be a surprise and/or screening after the panel.
Oh, 100%.
Whether it's the first 3 episodes like we're getting, or just the first episode. If you remember back to 2022, they surprised everyone that was at the Kenobi panel and said, "Hey, we're going to be screening the first 2 episodes later tonight. See you there."
It's
we're going
like
to get that.
We're
We're
going
going
to
to get that for Andor.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to get that for Andor.
I mean, who wouldn't want to watch like 3 episodes of Andor in a cinema? That's just
to our friends that are going to be there for that panel. I hope this is true for you, because
you've lucky buggers, all of you
lucky bastards. Also, shout out to friends of the podcast, Mo and M of Castle Run Relay for being at that Andor celebration event earlier this week. Real quickly, I just want to take a moment to shout out some of our friends that are at Celebration and are going to be doing some panels. If you are there, our buddy Scotty Jarrow of the Bombad Cast is going to be doing his panel on midi-chlorians. That is today, Friday. So if you have not booked if you've not planned on going to that panel, check it out because
it's going to be wild.
It's going to be wild. And then our buddies over at Stardust Records, I believe, are doing a panel on Jedi Survivor this weekend.
Oh,
I don't remember when the day is, but I remember them announcing that.
Cool.
So stay tuned for that. And if you're there in Japan, go to those panels. Support the small creator panels. Those are always really fun. As someone that's been to 2 celebrations, I love the big panels, obviously, but you definitely want to go to a couple of the smaller panels because those are just also really fun. And you really get to see the love and creativity that comes from being Star Wars fans. Yeah. And that's what this convention's all about. It's about being together. It's about being together with hundreds and thousands of people that love the same thing you do and just have fun, be a fan. And
Exactly.
for 3-4 days, you can forget about all the discourse and disagreements and the toxicity that happens in social media, and just have a good time. And
Bask in the love.
it's so great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I'm
I think we're
also
getting an Andor screening.
we've
We know
Yeah.
we're getting a Siege of Mandalore screening. So again, this is where I get on my soapbox and I say, Disney, just do me a favor.
do a
Edit
limited
the
release.
4 episodes together, put them on Disney Plus, or throw them in the theater, do a limited release. So I have an excuse to put it at my number 1. Just do it already.
So my next thing, by the way, since I'm going to keep it with publishing, because to lead in from what you were saying about like friends of the pod, our friend of the pod Maggie Lovett, who was on our recap of chapter
She's
5 of
modding
the Acolyte.
the
She's
publishing
modding
panels, isn't she?
the publishing panel, which is really awesome. So yeah, good luck to Maggie for that. That's going to be great. But for my next prediction, I'm going to say General Grievous comic.
Oh my god!
Because it's like, it's the most obvious thing in terms of like side characters who could get a comic book. Grievous is such a visually fantastic character. You could do so much with him in a comic book.
Finally get Kalish Warrior Grievous. I will
run. The dude had like a great showing in Tales of the Empire. It was so good to see. We haven't seen a Grievous appearance in years, and then he got a great showing in Tales of the Empire. That was probably one of the coolest like little cameos in that show. So yeah, I could see a Grievous comic, like whatever form that takes, whether it's centered on him. There was a Legends comic about a bunch of Jedi going on a suicide mission to kill him. Kind of fruitless since we know he's in Revenge of the Sith. But I think a Grievous comic would be awesome, depending on who you get to do it.
I would love that. Give me that right now. I need that, and I hope that's happening. Because I didn't even think about the comics. I was just so focused on the novels.
Gotta show some comic love here.
But we got to show some comic love here, and I'm glad you did that. So we each got 2 picks left. I'm going to do my shot in the dark here. Tony Gilroy, earlier this week, made an allusion. Okay, they just announced reveal trailer for Outlaws DLC.
Yeah.
So there's that. Hello, my friends.
Stay profitable.
But Tony Gilroy earlier this week alluded to the fact that according to him, Lucasfilm has a Star Wars horror project in development. So I am going to say Tony Gilroy, showrunner of this horror show. Yeah, I think I'm actually kind of surprised that we're at the end of Andor and Tony Gilroy isn't immediately just like, yeah, no, it was fun doing Star Wars, but I'm done. Like,
I was amazed. I thought he wouldn't want to
still
do anymore.
Talking about Lucasfilm and like all these stuff in development, and he alludes to this. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of combining 2 of my things into one, which I was going to say. I alluded to the fact that Marvel has that Punisher Disney Plus special coming next year, and they did Werewolf by Night, and I've been saying for years, do some Disney Plus specials or movies for Star Wars. I don't know why they haven't. I've been saying just do a straight to Disney Plus movie. It looks like right now that's not what Disney is like looking for corporate wise, with Moana 2 getting moved to theaters and stuff like that. So I feel like right now that's not going to happen. But something like this, kind of a limited series event, maybe for Halloween, maybe it's a Death Troopers adaptation.
With an equally surprising like appearance from legacy characters.
I want to see this, and if he's bringing it up, I'm like, okay, is that him fucking with us? Or is this something that's actually because a horror movie or series or movie or something set in the Star Wars galaxy is something I never thought we would get, but it's something I've always been like, but what if we did? And this is something that, like, especially if it's Tony Gilroy doing it, I am so intrigued of how this would go. And I think he's gonna do something next, and I think we might find out what that is. And I'm just going to put a shot in the dark and say that he was teasing his own announcement in that interview when he was playing coy. So we'll see. That is one of my last Hail Marys as we get closer to the end of this board.
Right.
What else do you got?
So again, I'm gonna go for broke here. Just to have some fun, I'm just gonna say Mara Jade. Just because, like,
in what?
Just because it would be funny. It would be funny to get the memes. Just like this, they announced that. I don't know. They announced they're doing a project about Mara Jade. They bring out some like big actress, like I don't know. They bring out like Zendaya or someone to play Mara Jade, and everyone just kind of melts down. It would just be very funny, and then there'd be like so many memes about George Lucas and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like Mara Jade is at some point inevitable with the way they're bringing a prequel characters, Legends characters into this. They've got Thrawn, they've done the Death Troopers, they're probably gonna do Abeloth for Ahsoka, and we all know that Mara Jade has a kind of a weird position in the Star Wars like universe galaxy because of like George Lucas was not a fan of the character. He didn't like that Luke had a wife. Yeah, he hated her. There's the famous skit with like Robot Chicken and stuff about him throwing a guy out, but it's inevitable that I think they'll do Mara Jade. I think she's an interesting character. She's very much one of the more beloved characters from Legends. She has a bunch of stories beyond just being Luke's wife, and she's got, with the way the Inquisitors are kind of set up, I could see her fitting into that and having her own kind of position there. There's a lot you could do with the character. Even leading up to like her meeting Luke and potentially being in Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire film. I could see that happening in some shape or form. So that's one of my Hail Marys.
I was going to say, what would you say would be the most likely, like an animated series or a book? Or
I was just thinking of like I was just thinking that would be like an announcement for Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie that they're getting Mara Jade. But again, casting might be kind of off really. But I'd just be kind of interested, or maybe they do a book about Mara Jade, or she shows up maybe in the Hidden Path as like a character. That could be one of the hooks for the animated show. They just have Mara Jade and everyone loses their minds about that. I could see that happening because I feel like there are some other big announcements coming, especially with the fact that they have been sort of drip feeding us reveals ahead of Celebration airing, almost like they want those things to have their kind of like time in the sun and not get like drowned out in like the discourse by like bigger things like Mando, the Star Wars Starfighter, that kind of stuff, like just overshadowing the smaller things like Master of Evil and Zero Company being announced. So I could see them doing something like that because it would be big. The fandom would just go nuts over it. There'd be all kinds of different reactions, and it'd be so interesting to see everyone's like feelings about it. But yeah, Mara Jade, big. That's my Hail Mary.
I'm between two things here. Because I'm like, oh, hold on, but I thought of another idea for a special that I really like. I'm gonna instead say we're gonna get some type of title or news surrounding Simon Kinberg's trilogy. I think we know they announced. Kathleen Kennedy announced that it's in development, so we know that that's coming. I think if we get a title, maybe some cast announcement, like how they did with Gosling. Because I'm just wondering, because we have now. Let me think here. We've got the Kinberg trilogy, so that's 3 movies. We've got Starfighter, that's 4. Mando, that's 5. New Jedi Order, that's 6. Heir to the Empire, that's 7.
Yeah.
And then Dawn of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And Pika. Exactly. So we got 9 movies in development. So I got to figure out, like, when are these coming out? Are we going to do 2 movies a year? Which I don't know if I want, but it's like, are we going to get Kinberg's movie and Sean Levy's movie in 2027? Are we going to get New Jedi Order and Sean Levy's movie in 2027? Like, are we going to get a surprise? Something's coming out with Mando next year. Like, what are we going to do here? So, like, that is I think we're going to get I'm going to say at least a title. We're going to get something related to this trilogy by the end of the weekend. I'll say this. My last minute cut was not an Obi-Wan season 2, but an Obi-Wan special with Ewan coming back and going Force heavy, or finally doing that Satine Obi-Wan animated movie that I've been wanting for years.
I should have gone with that. I should have gone with that.
But your last pick for today before we bring things home.
Oh, okay. This is difficult. This is difficult because I'm kind of drawing a blank, but I just need a moment to think because it's like there's so many different.
I did the same thing.
I know, and exactly. There's this kind of thing like, oh, it's the last one. Oh, like, there's so many different kind of like things we could have. I was gonna do a Black Series thing kind of earlier, but we've already had a bunch of those coming in, including a Turgle Black Series, which
Black Series.
There's a Turgle Black Series, in the panel, and Cal Kestis with a handlebar mustache. They're doing that.
Shit!
Yeah. But
Trucker Cal Kestis.
I don't know. Like I've kind of done the big reveal with Mara Jade. You've said about Obi-Wan being in Ahsoka season 2. We've sort of like flirted with some stuff. I haven't really had an Obi-Wan related announcement, so I think I'm gonna go with an Obi-Wan style thing, which is. So I'm gonna say that like out of the season 2s, they announce a new Obi-Wan story maybe, and the easy thing would be to go with Satine. But I have just started reading Padawan, and I got reminded, thanks to a name drop of a certain character who was from Legends, I have got reminded of how big, how strong a grip the relationship between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Siri Tachi had on me as a kid. So I'm going to say Siri Tachi in Obi-Wan season 2. That's going to be my final big kind of thing, because. I read Secrets of the Jedi as a 12-year-old. It was like one of my forays into Legends, and I just was so in love with the idea of Obi-Wan having this kind of dynamic, this romantic entanglement with a fellow Padawan. It's a great story to explore. It's very High Republic. She had a whole trajectory in those stories. She had a Padawan who does survive Order 66 and comes back to kind of help Obi-Wan I think it was called I can't remember what it was called, like Last of the Jedi. That was it. Which was basically kind of what the Obi-Wan show sort of pulled from a little bit, because it was about Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine and going on an adventure like in the galaxy and staying hidden. No Darth Vader, but that was something that they've pulled from already. And Siri Tachi, she does die in Legends, like before the events of Revenge of the Sith. However, that was in Legends, and now she has been brought back into canon with.
She was in Padawan.
With a Padawan, yes, and she was also mentioned, I think, in Brotherhood.
But
she exists there. She's kind of like I could see them maybe changing her fate from dying, because we already have had Satine happen. We've had Satine die, and it would be kind of interesting to kind of explore that kind of storyline. Obi-Wan, maybe he meets her like years later. She survived Order 66. That would be kind of a fun story. But yeah, this is kind of a nostalgia pick, really, because that ship had a really strong grip on me as a kid. I loved it. It was just really interesting and different, and maybe see a whole other side to my favorite Star Wars character way before Satine entered the picture. But yeah, that is going to be my final pick for this bingo.
I read some of those Jude Watson young reader novels back in the day.
Jude Watson.
And I remember it was one of those things where I was doing like a casual, like a Wikipedia read one night, and I remember seeing the name and seeing like the art of the character, and I was like, everything just hit me like a ton of bricks at that point. Like, this is a character I hadn't thought of in maybe 15 years, and I was like, oh my god.
She's actually mentioned in the Revenge of the Sith visual dictionary. I don't know if it's mentioned that she's killed or not, but she's in the visual dictionary for Revenge of the Sith as a name drop. So that's what kind of spurred me onto it, and then I just happened to like come across Secrets of the Jedi that explored that.
I think it would be sweet if she came back in like visual canon in some way, and I mean.
Maybe she could be Miramir's like mother or something, and that's how we swing back to this. I will die a Rey Kenobi believer. I will. It's like it's my copium for like you don't just have power, you have his power from Tross.
Before we get out, I just want to say we got a Marin Black series announcement. Finally, And then also, right now on the celebration stage is the director of Godzilla -1. So I swear to Christ, if they announce he's doing a Star Wars project, I will scream and I will lose my damn mind.
What the hell is he? Well, what is he doing there? Like,
I don't
come on,
know.
is he doing?
They just announced that he's directing a sequel to -1, so I can't wait for that because that movie is phenomenal. If you have not seen it,
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, so that is our prediction / preview for Star Wars Celebration Japan. Of course, it is currently going on right now, but you can watch this together. You can see how many we got right, how many we got super duper wrong, and how many we're just having some fun with. But you can join us throughout the weekend, and of course, after the convention ends for our full discussion and recap of the event. And I hope you guys just have a fun weekend celebrating Star Wars together. Donovan, let's head out of here. Where can everyone find you before we just lose our mind over Star Wars for the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, for our brains like melt out of our ears. You can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead, TikTok at Donovan McComish, Instagram at Donovan_McComish, same handle for Threads, and you can find me on Blue Sky at DonovanMcComish.bsky.social. I am also a question writer for Star Wars In a Galaxy Epic Confrontations, which is a quiz show where we bring together multiple different Star Wars personalities and test their mettle when it comes to Star Wars trivia. We got some cool matchups coming later in the year, so just keep your eyes peeled for that. I've also written a Star Wars short story that I published in 2022, fan story I should add, called Star Wars Scars of War. If you like Star Wars and pain, maybe consider giving it a read. It was a lot of fun to write.
Absolutely. As for myself, you can find me on all social media at Starlight Andrew, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, starlightandrew.bluesky.social. You can also follow the pod on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, and on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at For the Republic Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube. We are getting close to 100. If we can hit 100 by our 100th episode, that would be awesome. And of course, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Aside from celebration coverage, we'll have that throughout the weekend, like I said, and we have some fun episodes coming. We have our very belated 2024 recap episode, which we'll be getting to because I finally finished the books that I needed to read. And of course, next week, believe it or not, is Andor Season 2. So we're going to have
finally there.
Our coverage begin there. Cannot wait. But until then, we'll see you after celebration. And until next time, may the Force be with you always, and enjoy this weekend.